Inna alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. We begin again after our break. We're talking about the issue of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preordaining of rizq. And I mentioned to you the ayat of Surah Al-Imran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks that He is informing us about His power and showing us that He has the power to do things that are much more difficult than feeding us. And this is to remind us that we get our sustenance and we get our rizq by the will of Allah. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَرْزُقُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ, whoever He wishes. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need our help in order to feed us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that He enlarges or restricts our rizq and our sustenance, and even in this we have no say. In Surah Ankabut, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Allahu yabsutu rizqa liman yasha'u min ibadihi wa yaqdiru lahu, inna Allaha bi kulli shay'in alim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Allah enlarges the provision of whom He wills of His slaves and straightens it or restricts it for whom He wills. And verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bi kulli shay'in alim knows everything. He is the all-knower of everything. So very clear ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enlarges or restricts. Allah does not say that He enlarges or restricts depending on what we do. Right? Our actions with regard to earning or our actions with regard to any material investment and so on have no implication one way or the other on the issue of rizq. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enlarges or restricts our provision as He wills. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Isra mentioned, and He said, Inna rabbaka yabsutu rizqa liman yasha'u wa yaqdiru innahu kana bi'ibadihi khabiran basira. See how many ways in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the fact that He is our raziq and that He gives us rizq. How many ways in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us this? Because it is to give us as much comfort as possible for us to understand. Because one of the things that might be in the minds of people is that yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the raziq and so on, but my condition and so on and so forth. I don't think any Muslim will say, I'm not sure whether Allah knows that, he won't say that. But at the same time there is the issue of knowledge, of saying, do you really know how much difficulty that I am in? Right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is clarifying that in such a beautiful way. He says, truly your Rabb enlarges the provision of whom He wills and restricts it for whom He wills. Verily He is ever all-knower and all-seer of His slaves. And see again, beauty of the Quran, the bayan of the Quran, Khabiran basira. Allah, it was enough to say Khabir, that He knows, but there is a difference between knowledge of being informed and knowledge by seeing actually. Because Rasulullah said, Laysa al-khabaru kal mu'ayna. He said the khabar is not like the mu'ayna. He said the information is not like the actual seeing of something, of observation of something. So information is not like observation. When you actually see something, sometimes the level of understanding is much more. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using both these words here. Khabiran basira. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also sees. And again, of course, I remind myself and you that whenever we do these translations and so on, do understand that when we are saying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees, Allah does not see in the way we see. The seeing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is totally and completely all-encompassing in every way that seeing can be imagined, and then more, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way He sees and the way He knows is not restricted by our imagination. Because when we say, if I say I see, obviously I see only what is before me, and even that I don't see it completely, because what is far away I cannot see. I can only see something which is at a certain distance, I can see to my sides. To some extent, I certainly cannot see behind my back. But when we are talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seeing, we are talking about seeing in every aspect that we can imagine of seeing, plus more in keeping with His majesty and His grace. And that applies to all of such terms when we make these translations. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about His decreasing. So He increases and He decreases. أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَبْسُطُ الرِّزْقَ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَقْدِرُ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يُؤْمِنُونَ. Allah says in these there are signs for people who believe. Do they not see that Allah enlarges the provision for whom He wills and restricts it for whom He wills? Verily in that are indeed signs for a people who believe. SubhanAllah, as I told you, we must live a life of awareness. Don't live a life of heedlessness, a life like animals, without thinking, without reflecting. In this city itself, in our own lifetimes, we have seen our own parents. When our parents were working, and they were working very hard, right? They were working very hard, and in those days the opportunities were limited, and so they had jobs and so on and so forth, and they struggled very hard, and they brought us up, and they gave us a good education and so on. And in the same lifetime of those parents, we also saw a situation where now the parents were retired, and when they were retired, their lifestyle was 100 times better than what it was when they were actually working. Why? Because you got sons and you got who are working abroad or who are here, who got businesses, and mashallah, alhamdulillah, they are dutiful sons. So therefore, what do? They say, नहीं, हमारी वालदा के वास्ते, हमारे वालिद के वास्ते गाड़ी भी होना, ड्राइवर भी होना, घर भी होना, वो भी होना, ये भी होना, एयर कंडीशनिंग होना, कमरा अच्छा होना, वो ये उन्होंने जिंदगी में कभी नहीं देखे वो चीज़ा. When they were working, they never saw any of those. But today, all of that and more. When they are not working. अब इसमें सबक नहीं है भाई. If provision was linked to you personally working, then when you retire, what must happen to you? But here, not only are you not dying, or not only are you not starving, or not only are you not living on your savings, you are actually living a lifestyle which is far superior to what you had when you were actually working. The enlarging of provision or the restricting of provision has to do with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Nothing to do with our work and so on. We'll see why we should still work. We'll come to that inshallah towards the end of this series of lectures. But as of now, this is the thing which is very important for us to keep in mind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enlarges the provision for whom He wills and restricts it for whom He wills. And verily in that are signs for a people who believe. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُلْ إِنَّ رَبِّي يَبْسُطُ الرِّزْقَ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَقْدِرُ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. He said in Surah Saba, say, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, verily my Rabb enlarges and restricts provision to whom He pleases, but most people do not know. Ayah after ayah after ayah is saying the same thing, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enlarges provision to whom He wishes and He restricts the provision of whom He wishes. And in no ayah has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that this depends on what you do or don't do. He did not say, I need your help for this, so please get up in the morning and go to work. Nothing. Allah gives as He wills and Allah takes away as He wills. And as I told you, should you still work? Or should you give up working and just sit? Because Allah will give. We will come to that inshallah. We'll keep you on the string until that time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about His rewards. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُلْ إِنَّ رَبِّي يَبْسُطُ الرِّزْقَ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ وَيَقْدِرُ لَهُ وَمَا أَنْفَقْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَهُوَ يُخْلِفُهُ وَهُوَ خَيْرُ الرَّازِقِينَ. Allah is talking about those who spend in His path. And He says, say, truly my Rabb enlarges the provision for whom He wills of His slaves, and also restricts it for Him, and whatsoever you spend of anything in Allah's cause, He will replace it, and He is the best of providers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said He will replace it. SubhanAllah, Ajib, I tell you, this is so true. It is so true. Of course, the whole of the Quran is true, but some things we actually get to see in our own lives. And we find that, you spend something somewhere and you get it back. You don't just get it back, you get it back in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the shan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't get, if you spend $10, Allah does not give you $10. There's a famous story of Rabia Basri, rahmatullah alayha, where somebody came in the evening and brought something and said, so and so sent it for you, and she opened the packet, and the packet had 9 pieces of bread, nine rotis. She had 9 loaves of bread or whatever. So she wrapped it back and she gave it back to him. She said, take it back. This is not for me. So the man went away, and then he came back and he gave the packet, and she opened it and she counted there were 10. So she said, yeah, this is for me. So the man said, why did you send me back before? She said, because I gave 1 loaf of bread in charity and Allah promised to give 1:10. Why will I take 9? I don't take 9. And the man said, yes, that's true. My master actually gave 10. I took away 1. So you put it back and put it. He said he actually gave 10. So this man whacked 1 in the middle. He took away 1 on the way. So the issue is people who recognize Allah, people who know Allah, who are connected with Allah, their ways are different. Their reactions and things are different. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not take. Allah is ghuyur. Allah does not take from us. First of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no need to take from us, because we and everything we have belongs to Allah anyway. So the question of taking from us does not arise. It's the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah gives us the opportunity to spend something in His path. And on top of that, Allah does 2 things. He replaces it in this dunya, and He gives a reward in the akhirah. And the reward He gives in the akhirah is far, far superior, far superior. But Allah replaces it in this dunya also. Even in the dunya, Allah does not take it from us, and I have lost. That's why I always say, I tell people, I said, don't say sacrifice, say investment. Right? So don't say sacrifice, say investment. Because sacrifice ends, investment continues. Because there's only so much you can sacrifice. Beyond a point, you cannot sacrifice anymore. But investment, there's no end to what you can invest. And that's what the Sahaba did. That's what they understood of Deen. A man came to Ajib, the stories of the Sahaba. A man came to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He was among the Arab. He was one of the tribals, one of the Badu Arabs. He came and joined in the Ghazwa of Khaybar. And he fought very well. So at the end of that Ghazwa, there was a lot of ghanima. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was distributing ghanima, so this man's share was brought to him. Somebody brought his share and whatever it was, wealth, and gave it to the man. So the man said, what is this? He said, this is your share of ghanima. He said, who sent this? He said, the Prophet of Allah, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sent it. So the man took up all that and he went to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and he put it there and he said, Ya Rasulullah, what is this? So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, this is your share of ghanima. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I did not join you for this. He said, I didn't join you for this. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, then why did you join me? What do you mean? He said, I joined you so that I fight in the cause of Allah, and that an arrow hits me here. And he put his finger on his throat. He said, so that an arrow will hit me here, and I die in the path of Allah, and Allah gives me Jannah. He said, I came and joined you for that, not for this. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, if you are sincere in what you are saying, Allah will give you what you want. And the Ravi of the hadith says that the next battle, the man was hit by an arrow exactly where he pointed. And he died. So his body was brought to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they told him. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, is this the same man? They said, yes, Ya Rasulullah, he is the same man. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam took off his shirt. He took off his thobe. And he gave and he said, bury him in my thobe. So they gave the kafan of the man was the thobe of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Sahabi says, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam personally lifted him and put him in the grave himself. And then he led his Salatul Janaza. He led his Salatul Janaza, then he personally put him in the grave. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then made dua. And the Sahabi said, it was a very long dua. It was a very long dua. He said, but the part in which I remember, he said, is when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, oh Allah, this was your slave, and he fought in your path, and he fought well, and he died for you, and oh Allah, I am the witness for that. Ajib, eh? You think the man was thinking sacrifice? Or was he thinking investment? Ajib. Wallahi, the Sahaba understood this deen. Nobody understood this deen better than the Sahaba Rizwanullahi alayhim ajmain. The Sahaba understood this deen. We play games. We play games. The Sahaba understood this deen. They knew the meaning of this deen. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives, and He enlarges the provision and He restricts the provision as He wishes. And we will see how the restriction of the provision is also a ni'mah and rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replaces anything that we spend in His path. He replaces it manifold in this dunya itself. And then He replaces it in the akhirah in terms of the reward that He gives for us, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the keys of the treasures of the heavens and the earth, because the treasures of the heavens and the earth belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لَهُ مَقَالِدُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ يَبْسُطُ الرِّزْقَ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَقْدِرُ إِنَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, to Him, to Allah, belong the keys of the heavens and the earth. He enlarges the provision for whom He wills, and He restricts and straightens it for whom He wills. Verily, He is the all-knower of everything. Verily, bi kulli shay'in alim. He knows everything. He knows what is where. Rizq is a sign of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أَوَلَمْ يَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَبْسُطُ الرِّزْقَ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَقْدِرُ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يُؤْمِنُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, do they not know that Allah enlarges the provision for whom He wills, and straightens it and restricts it for whom He wills? Verily, in this are signs for the people who believe. Again and again and again, how many ayat do we want to prove that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who gives? And Allah gives as He wants. Allah gives as He wants, to whom He wants, as much as He wants. And therefore we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for rizqan halalan tayyibah bighayri hisab. Now all of these ayats are meant to comfort us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, number one, knows what we need. Number two, has the power to give it to us. We are asked not to worry and stress ourselves, but to ensure that we earn this sustenance in the right way. I'm going to give you an example to illustrate this. Imagine that you are standing before a very large store. Very, very large store. Huge warehouse. Right? Imagine a huge warehouse. And this warehouse has a glass front. Transparent. It has a complete front. The entire wall is glass. So you can see inside this warehouse. And when you look inside the warehouse, you're seeing there are SUVs in it, and there are cars in it, and there's jewelry stores in it, and imagine every conceivable thing that you can think about is in this warehouse. Right? There are holidays in it, and there are homes in it, and Everything. This warehouse. And this is huge warehouse with a glass front. Right? Now, this warehouse has two entrances. And there's an entrance on one end, and above that door is written halal. And there's another entrance on the other end, and above that door is written haram. Right? Now, no matter which door you enter this warehouse through, what is in the warehouse, does it change? No. What's in the warehouse is in the warehouse. Whether you enter through the door marked halal or whether you enter through the door marked haram, you're going to get the same thing. Now, imagine that I am standing before the door which is marked haram. And as we have seen in so many places, they have a photovoltaic cell, there's a sensor there, and if you stand before the door opens automatically. Yes, as soon as you come in front of the door opens. So imagine that I am standing, I've just come up to the door which is marked haram, and the door has opened, and I am about to step inside to take what I want. And at that moment, you are standing on the other side of the warehouse and you call out to me and you say, hold on. So I say, yes, what can I do for you? You're telling me, Sheikh, don't enter through this door. Come here and enter through this other door, which is marked halal. Right? Don't enter through the door that you are going in through. Come here and enter through this door. Right? So you're telling me it's the same store, it's the same things, nothing is going to change. Don't enter from that door, enter from this door. So what do I tell you? I tell you, you know what? You are telling me enter through that door, but that door is closed. That door is not open. The door is closed. So what are you telling me? What do you tell me? You tell me, Sheikh, you know what? Please come here. And this door will also open just like the other one opened. Just come here and that door will also open just like this one opened. So what do I tell you? I said, no. You first open the door, then I will come. You first open the door and I will come. If the door is closed, I won't come. Now what is the answer? The door will not open unless I go stand there. The door will not open unless I go and stand there, because the camera which opens the door has a retina scanner, image recognition software in it. When I stand before the door, the camera recognizes my retina scan and it opens the door only for me. You get the point I'm making? So even if you go and stand before the door and open the door, that door is opening for you, it's not opening for me. It will open for me only when I go and stand in front of that door. It's easy to understand this, given that we are all aware of retina scanners and automatic door openers and whatnot. Just imagine this. This is the simplest way of explaining the issue of rizq and the issue of earning it in halal ways and haram ways. Simplest way. One warehouse which has the same things in it. The things in the warehouse don't change. It has two doors, one marked haram, one marked halal. We have the choice to enter that warehouse from any one of these doors. The difference is that if you enter from the door marked haram and you take those things, then you get punished. And if you enter from the door called halal and you take the same things, then not only do you not get punished, you also get rewarded. So what do you say? Supposing we were standing in front of a real material store and they say, if you enter from this door, you got to pay for that thing. And if you enter from that door, not only will we give you the same thing free, but we'll also give you a bonus. How many people will choose to enter through this door and pay? Tell me. I'm not even talking about punishment. I'm just talking about payment. And if someone insisted, नहीं मेरे को यहाँ से घुसना है, वो तो पागल है, दिमाग खराब है, senseless, crazy man. Why would you want to? आप कहीं को पैसा देना चाह रहे? You're going to get it for free. Plus, he's going to give you a bonus also, right? So you don't want the bonus, you don't want the thing for free, and you want to pay for that thing when you can get it for free. You're mad. You're crazy. And I'm not even talking about punishment. I'm not even talking about punishment. The simplest way of explaining, in my view, the issue of rizq. And that's why the questions on the Day of Judgment, the hadith that I mentioned to you at the beginning of the lecture today, the questions have to do with the quantity or the method. Which one? Method. Allah is not going to ask you, how come you didn't make $1 million? No. Allah will say, the money I gave you, the rizq I gave you, the knowledge I gave you, the wealth I gave you, the power I gave you, whatever that was, what was the way you chose to earn it? And what was the place you chose to spend it? Allah will not ask you, how much did you make? No, He will say, how did you make? And where did you spend? Allah will not ask us, how much knowledge did you earn? How much knowledge did you learn? Allah will ask, the knowledge that I gave you, what did you do with that knowledge? Did you practice it yourself? Did you teach it to other people? Did you do something good with this knowledge? Allah will not ask you, how long did you live? How come you didn't live to be 100? Why did you die at 50? Will Allah ask this question? No. Allah will ask, the 50 years of lifespan I gave you, what did you do in those 50 years? Allah will not say in your youth, how come you didn't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, whatever you look like, whatever strength and so on and power and beauty and handsomeness and so forth you had in your youth, what did you do with it? Did you use the strength that you had in your youth? That strength, was it spent in standing in tahajjud before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or was that strength spent on the dance floor in a disco dancing all night? Which one? That strength and power in your youth which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you, did you use it to help somebody who needed help? Or did you use that strength for doing something which is prohibited? Yes? All the questions related to rizq are not questions about the quantum, not questions about the quantity. They are questions about the quality of it. How did we take it? What did we do with it? And that's the reason why it's very important for us to keep these two things in mind. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us in keeping with His mercy and grace. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make rizq the least of our worries. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take away the worry of rizq completely from our hearts. To fill our hearts with itminan, with yaqeen on Him as the Razzaq dhul quwwatil mateen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us rizqan halalan tayyiba. Allahumma inni as'aluka rizqan halalan tayyiba. To give us rizqan wasi'a, and to give us rizq bighayri hisab. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We'll meet again tomorrow at 10:30, inshallah, for the continuation of this lecture. وصلى الله على نبي الكريم وآله وصحبه أجمعين.